A really good title can grab your attention and convey the gist of what you'll get from, in this case, a podcast. Femsplainers is just such a case in point, and the co-creators and co-hosts of that aptly titled offering join us now. And so we welcome Femsplainers, Christina Hoff Sommers and Danielle Crittenden to TVO. Hi, you two.
Hi.
Okay.
Thanks for having us on.
Well, welcome. I say, first of all, you, I say welcome from the States. You, I say welcome home.
I know.
You're from here.
I'm from here, and we spend 3-4 months a year up here.
Yeah.
So I'm living a secret double life as a Canadian.
It's not so secret. I got news for you.
Crypto-Canadian.
Well, tell us, Femsplainers, where'd you come up with that?
Well, we were trying to think of a good name because the podcast...
We crowdsourced it. I asked on Twitter.
You did ask on Twitter, but the spirit of it was we wanted to do a podcast, obviously, about women's topics, but we didn't want it to feel political. We didn't want it to feel like every other, conversation you have on women's issues. We wanted to have cocktails and make it like the conversations we have amongst our friends in D.C.
We should just explain that for those who haven't heard it. Cocktails are involved, right?
Yes.
Or wine. Wine is okay too.
Okay?
I mean, I'm looking at this thinking this is not vodka, Steve. You've got to up your
that
TV game here.
Lake Ontario H2O, I'm afraid. Nothing more sophisticated than that. Where did the notion of putting cocktails into the mix come in?
We wanted to have fun and be relaxed.
Right.
Conversation is always better as the program goes on and on.
Sometimes less so.
Sometimes less coherent. But
Is that really true? Does the conversation get a little edgier the more alcohol is imbibed?
Not edgier, because we're nice drunks.
Yeah.
That we actually get really much mellower, and it does, because it's that environment. Podcasts, as you know, are such intimate things that we got interested in it because it was a way really to talk to people, an audience of young people as well, and young women. Our children walk around listening to podcasts all the time, and they're in their 20s. And I got fascinated by this, that you don't write books for them anymore if you want to talk to them. You do a podcast. So it was partly a way to expand that audience as well.
This just in, you're not the only podcast out there.
we know.
Really?
There are, I know this will come as a shock. He's
mansplaining.
Okay.
I'm going to get to that. There are apparently more than 500,000 active podcasts out there, according to the research we've done, and 18.5 million episodes already. How do you break through all of that clutter?
We just do it. And I think that we fill a niche that's badly needed, which is that we are liberated women of the new millennium, but we can talk outside the rigid language of orthodox feminism, as well as anti-feminism. We're willing to entertain any thesis, and we have guests from the right and the left coming on, and we just talk to them, and we laugh, and we, wherever appropriate, we ask questions. Sometimes we bicker. Did we bicker?
Well, I was
really.
going to ask about that, because you two are not what you would call politically ideological soulmates, right?
We tend to agree on most things. Christina gets into the Twitter sphere more than I do.
But she's a little more liberal than you, and you're a little more conservative than she.
Oh, I was going to say the opposite.
It used to be. We've switched places.
It used to be.
We switched. Now she's, I don't know. I can't
I've
predict.
become so, I'm always defending, the Me Too side. One of the great things about this is we just felt that when any conversation around, for example, Me Too, everybody's walking on eggs. If you say, has it gone too far, or was this an overreaction, you can, as we know, lose your job or your show. So we just, and maybe the cocktails help, but we just feel, we just dive in, we say what we think, and we talk about it with people who are really interesting or versed on whatever the topic we're having.
Yeah.
So we feel we can talk about it with authority, but also as women with sympathy and understanding.
Here's the first of several questions that are going to get me in trouble.
Okay.
So here we go. We know mansplaining, because you've already mentioned it today, we know that is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Why is femsplaining okay?
Because it comes with drinks.
Yes, and I don't mind mansplaining that much. I mean, if he knows a lot and can explain something well, I don't mind it. So, and hopefully they don't mind a good femsplainer.
Second question that's going to get me in trouble. Oh, I don't even think I should ask this, but here we go. How exactly is femsplaining different from nagging?
Because we don't nag. There's no nagging. No, femsplaining, it's obviously a jokey title.
Yes.
And it's really just we actually have a lot of male listeners who they've started to ask us advice. Like now, every podcast we're getting emails and
dating advice,
romantic romantic advice. Yeah, I don't know why they're looking to us, but they're trying to understand. I think there's a lot of confusion between men and women
for a change
today. Yeah, well,
like there hasn't always been.
Even it's
more than you would expect.
I mean, it's more tentative. It's everybody's about to explode, and as you point out, you think you're going to get in trouble when you ask us a question. And
right.
So a lot of men are trying to. No, I mean, a popular episode we did was like, is it okay if I kiss you? I mean, there are a lot of young men who don't know how to go about expressing
and young women
affection.
Thinking guys have become so passive
and afraid.
So it's very confusing. And as I said, we're not coming at it with ideology, but we hope common sense and life experience and
humor.
Humor and
cocktails.
And cocktails, yes, you mentioned that.
Several times.
Are men allowed to be guests on your show?
Yes, we've had some excellent
mansplainers.
Right.
In fact, my husband David has been on our.
Your husband, for those who don't know, is David
They
from?
talked about how they met, and it was a wonderful show.
Yeah.
Well,
got him off politics.
And we just had Greg Lukian off, who wrote a wonderful book,
We
The Coddling
just
of the
Jonathan Jonathan Haidt the other day about it. Yes.
And we've had
The Coddling of the Young American Mind.
Yeah. So if we feel that the topic is apropos, we don't discriminate. We're happy to have mansplainers on too. But then we'll have just fabulous women. We've had Tina Brown on, talking about her career and her books.
Ayan Hirsi Ali.
So that was a great one.
So
have you had Ayan Hirsi Ali and her husband Neil Ferguson on together? That would be
No,
interesting.
That'd be a good show. That's a good one.
They're not often in the same place at the same time.
That's
They're
right.
hard to book together.
That's
We've
right.
tried here. They're hard to book together. I want to pick up on something you just said, because you did talk about kind of some personal life stuff about how you and David Frum met and married and all of this kind of stuff. And were you at all reticent to get into any of those private details in a very public forum that way?
Yes, obviously, but I feel like with David that there's always that very stern political side of him that people know, but they don't know the other side of him, which Christina knows well. We've all been friends for over 20 years, I think. Yeah. And I just wanted people to be able to see that there's this very thoughtful and also brain that thinks about so many things, including modern love and
he had good advice.
He had great advice. So
see, that's not the David Frum that we would traditionally go to. On politics in America today, on Trumpism, on all of those things, yes, he's the go-to guy.
Right.
On modern love, David Frum?
You would be surprised.
Evidently.
He's an old-fashioned romantic.
Right.
Well, now that doesn't surprise me, but the notion that he would feel sort of confident enough to be giving love advice to lots of people.
He didn't like that. That makes it a little too mansplaining. It's not like he gave advice, but he just talked about. We talked about. I mean, we've been married for over 30 years. We've known each other for like 31 years.
Unbelievable. You've been married 30 years?
Yeah. And just like, how do you do that?
She was 7 when she was a child.
That's right. I was child bride. No, how do you do that? How do you keep something going? And that's what we really talked about. And anyway, so I hope people
one way is not to nag.
Yeah, we don't nag.
I think that nagging is what ruins relationships and insulting. You just don't fight. It's hard though.
Just don't fight?
That's easy. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay, you can fight, but not this constant criticism. This is what I see destroy relationships. It's just.
Well, we talked about women getting angry, and there was that article in the Washington Post where a woman just erupted and started screaming at her husband of 40 years.
Oh, there's a new I hate men school of feminism, angry women. And it's
not good.
Like Angry Birds, but angry chicks.
No, and we've talked about Me Too. Both of us think that it's a very good thing that happened because it's an occasion for sort of men and women to just take relationships in the workplace, in life, to a higher level, to bring them up to 21st century standards. But it could be ruined if it becomes a war on men. It has to be something men and women do together. Men and women of goodwill can do together. But what we see is it's evolving into you know, these screeds against men, and yes, all men. No, not all men. There are many, many good men. A majority of men are good and aren't predators and bullies, and not all women are perfect. So we come to...
Well, that's a perfect definition of femsplaining. It's restoring dialogue between men and women.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be a nice thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope so.
Well, as long as we're going to do it between the genders, why don't we do it between the different political factions as well?
That's hopeless.
That is hopeless. Hey, well, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean,
men and women are easier, I think.
Men and women are easier to solve than the current political
I think so.
dynamic in Washington these days, which is completely polarized. Do you have any hope that any of that's going to change in the next couple of years?
Yes. I mean, Irving Kristol, I once sat next to the famous Irving Kristol, profound man, lovely man. And this was maybe 20 years ago, and I said to him, you know, I was very agitated about what was going on then. And I said, what do you think? He was about 80 at that point. And he said, don't worry, soon they'll all be dead. I said, what about the next generation? He goes,
yeah, well, we'll be dead too.
We'll be dead too. That's how I feel right now.
Okay, so let me just write this down. The long-range solution to all our problems is
sooner or later
we'll all be dead. Okay, I got it. It's
funny, it works for all occasions.
I'm not so worried anymore. Okay, all right, that's good. Well, we remind everybody that if they want to download it, I guess they go to their favorite, whatever, iTunes, Stitcher, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And it's called Femsplainers, and you've heard them do their thing. Danielle Crittenden, Christina, Hoff, Sommers. Thanks a lot for coming into TVO tonight, and we wish you well with the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Cheers.
The Agenda with Steve Bacon is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.